Hey guys, it's Monica from MonicaLeonelle.com, and today I'm talking about the different series that I have under my pen name, Monica Leonelle. So, the first series that I wanted to talk about is called Emma plus Elsie. This series is a modern day adaptation of two Jane Austen novels, Emma and Pride and Prejudice. They are probably the two most popular Jane Austen novels and two of my very favorites. The idea is that the two main characters, Emma and Elizabeth Bennet, are best friends in modern day times. So the series is, they've just graduated from high school and they're about to go into college, and they're spending their last summer in their hometown Rosebell, which is a fictional town in Louisiana. So it kind of gives this adaptation some room to breathe in terms of the magical realism that's needed to adapt this, and also gives it some opportunity for the characters to make the mistakes that they make in both books, and just prepare. They're two college girls essentially that are or college bound girls that they're kind of trying to feel their way into adulthood, much like what Jane Austen does in her books. So I thought this idea would be really interesting. I know there are hundreds of Jane Austen adaptations that you could give your attention to. The reason I think you should give my series attention is because I think it's a little different in terms of how these stories intersect. I think they'll intersect in very surprising ways that will just be interesting and kind of put a fresh spin on an old tale. And then the other reason is because, when Jane Austen wrote these books, they're really like coming of age stories almost, and they very much fit the this new genre that's out, that's come into popularity in the last couple of years, called the new adult genre, which is essentially like high schoolers transitioning to college. So, there's college freshmen, they're dealing with becoming adults, they're dealing with, sex, drugs, alcohol, all sorts of stuff. They're dealing with the pain of their childhood, they're dealing with those types of things, which I think Jane Austen's books are very much about that. And they also deal with relationships, which is another thing. Jane Austen's books were all about marriage. This is about relationships, jobs, like those same transitions that people go through when they're going from their hometown, their family, to being out on their own. The other reason I think people will like it is because it's just funny. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's very much, the style and the tone is very lighthearted romantic comedy. It's something that I haven't done with any of my books thus far, but with these books, I think it's really funny. I think the dialogue between the characters is hilarious, and even as I read the books back, I'm cracking up. Like, I'm laughing at these little one-liners and just the funny things that go on in the book, and the way it kind of refers back to the original text. So I think that people will really enjoy that. The series is mapped out because it's two very long novels. I mapped it out onto novellas of about 150 pages each, and it spans 18 novellas. So that could be a very good thing if you like having more content to read, or it could be a bad thing if you're like, oh, well, I have to get all 18 novellas in order to enjoy the series. Oh my gosh, it's raining. Okay, so obviously it's raining outside. We're just going to keep going, though, with the video. That's Emma plus Elsie. The next series that I want to tell you about is called Stars and Shadows, and this is a series that I haven't really talked about anywhere. I haven't promoted it anywhere. It's been in the works for a while, and I've only recently had kind of a reimagining for it so that it can start going out right away. This series is, I would say it's basically a space opera. So it's similar to Star Wars. It is more on the romantic side than it is on the pure fantasy side, though there is going to be like a war and everything. within the books, but it's very much, it starts out as a romance, and I'm really excited for it. I think a traditional space opera is more about the drama and the romance, and I think I wanted to, I really wanted to go back to that. The series, well, I don't want to say too much more about the series, but I think that it's going to be, very heavily about romantic relationships and also relationships with family and loyalty and, that type of stuff. It's very dramatic. There are a couple, I was reading parts of it yesterday, and there are a couple just really funny little pieces to it that I think the tone and the style of the story will make it funnier. Like, it'll add some fun to it. So it's not just total drama. There will be some pieces to it that I think will be just fun and witty, and I think people who like that sort of thing will like it. This series is a little different because I'm doing it in pretty small chunks. The reason why is the story just lends itself really well to it. It's got a huge cast of characters, very much like Game of Thrones, and I don't want to overwhelm the reader with too many storylines going on at once. So the little chunks will it'll help me tell like a tiny story here, a tiny story here, and the reader can just kind of put it all together as they go along through the series. Because it's told in small chunks, there is an issue on Amazon, especially with the pricing. So I am going to put each episode at $2.99 on Amazon, but I'm also going to make it a KDP Select title. So if you're an author, you kind of understand my pain on this. I am very, very against KDP Select because it requires exclusivity, and it's kind of like unfair how Amazon's kind of getting authors to join this program. I think authors would join it, if it wasn't exclusive. Like, I'd put all my books in it without question. But Amazon just kind of being a dick about this, so whatever. Like, I have a bunch of series on other platforms, and I'm not going to pull them. And same with Emma plus Elsie and like some of my other series, like they're going to go out to all the platforms. This series is going to be kind of my one series that's in KDP Select, only because of the format, because it's such small books. Like, I don't want to charge $3 per like small book, and I think that realistically it's got to be done by subscription, and if it's being done by subscription, Amazon is the best place to put it. So to clarify that, by putting it in as an Amazon exclusive, if you have Kindle Unlimited, which is their new subscription program where you can read as many books as you want for $10 a month, if you have that subscription, or if you have a Prime account, you are able to borrow the books without having to buy them. And I think that's just going to lend itself better to this type of series. So that's like kind of my little rant on KDP Select, I suppose. But just so you know, this will be an Amazon exclusive series, and it will be in there for quite a while. I'm not gonna pull it, after 90 days or anything like that. It's pretty much just gonna stay in there until KDP Select becomes not a viable option anymore. So that's the deal with that series. And that should be out in the next couple weeks without question. I would love to get an episode out every week. I'd actually love to get 2 episodes out every week, but I think that's going to be a challenge. But I'm really excited. Like, the drafts on this series are fantastic. It's exactly the type of series I'd want to read. If you're a fan of, franchises like Star Wars or Game of Thrones or even like Battlestar Galactica, and if you're a fan of that type of storytelling with like the big cast of characters, then I think you definitely really enjoy these books as well. The third series I want to talk about is Social Punk. Social Punk is a science fiction cyberpunk, I suppose. It's set in the far off future. It's set here on Earth. It is basically a world where technology and some of the stuff that's happening in social media, or I guess with the internet, more generally with the internet, it's basically if all of that was physical and the world around us interacted the same way. So it's very much about the economy of the internet as it is right now. It's told through sort of an allegory. That book or that series started out as a trilogy. It was supposed to be a trilogy of novels. The first novel came out a couple years ago, and it's been free on Amazon for a while. I've only recently pulled it from Amazon because I have been moving that series to the serial format. The reason I have it in the serial format now is I felt like the end of the trilogy, I felt like, man, I really want to keep going with this series. I just felt like there was a lot more to explore. So I didn't want to kind of give myself that cutoff. And the way the trilogy originally ended, it would have been a pretty stark cutoff. Everything kind of blows up and disappears. So that's not, the serial is going to keep going. And the particular story that's going on right now will probably end when it was supposed to, but after that I wanted to just keep the world open. So what else do I want to say about that? So basically that's being moved to a serial format. There's a lot more details on my blog about how that works. If you've already read the first book, you can find out how many serials are equivalent. So you could go and find all of that out there. And I think it's a great series. It's one that a lot of people like. It's also one that is pretty easy for me to get out. So the third serial is going to be out soon. The first and second are already available, and the fourth and fifth are both pretty at least partially drafted. So I would expect those to come out in the next couple months. And that I think if you it's a little more Matrix-y, I would say. So if you like stuff like The Matrix, like The Terminator, that's where this kind of falls. It is a young adult series, and there is some romantic elements as well that would be, comparable to any young adult book. So if those things turn you off, then you probably won't like the series. But otherwise, I think it's a fun series. And it has new covers as well, so I'm pretty excited about those. I think they represent the book pretty well. The last series is called Waters Dark and Deep, and this is actually my first series that I ever wrote. It's the first fiction that I ever wrote, period. This series, it's another one of those sprawling worlds, I guess. It is an urban fantasy. So what that means is that it's kind of it has fantasy elements, but it takes place in the modern world. It's similar to the Vampire Diaries, which I talked about earlier on the vlog this week. So if you like things like that, then you might like Waters Dark and Deep as well. It's about this race of humans that is descended from archangels and archdemons, and it's very much about just kind of, I would say, metaphysical components. Even though, so it's not religious by any means, but it is about love and fear and family and alliance and politics, and there's kind of these broad themes, and it is asking kind of the big questions about life within this series. That one is also, it's a young adult series, and it has, again, lots and lots of characters. There are characters of actually all ages, though the main ones that are the focus of the book are teenagers. There are a lot of characters who are much older that still get their perspectives. There are some characters who are kind of they're not necessarily good or evil, so those characters also get perspectives. So I think it's a good mix of a bunch of different things, and it's one of those series that I hope takes, things that are fantastical, like all the elements that make a great fantasy, and it has all of those things. This series is very near and dear to my heart, and I've put a lot of thought into it. So for starters, the series, the books are longer. They're probably about 250 to 300 pages each. I wouldn't call them full-length novels still, because they do fall a little short in terms of, they're not like the 400, 500 pages that you would typically find at a bookstore. So they do fall a little short. I've mapped out the whole series. There are 25 books in the series, which is a lot. Because of that, I decided to make them free in digital format, and then also cheap in like a paperback format. So I think those books are interesting because it's really more of a passion project than it is a money project. I feel like, above all, my goal for this series is to just have it be read. It's definitely my favorite series. It's a series I think would be easiest to adapt to television out of everything that I've ever written, because it is an urban fantasy. So even though there are those fantasy elements, it's still, most of the sets would be present day. Like they'd be like just regular sets, as opposed to something like Social Punk, where you'd have to build, you have to build a ton of sets to make that series very viable. So, this series, I think it's kind of my baby. It's the one that I've worked the hardest on. It's the one that I've rewritten the most times. It's the one that I invest like a lot of my time in and give my attention to. And because of that, I want to remove all barriers to entry. It's also my highest rated series. So people who like this kind of series really like these books. People who don't like the series, of course, don't like the books, but it's not one of those series where, it's in the genre and people like sort of like it or anything like that. It's like, if you like this genre, you love this series. So I have a lot of faith in the series, and I have a lot of content that I'm ready to get out in the coming months, but it's not quite there, and because the series isn't going to really ever generate money for me, I'm taking my time with it and just making sure that it's really the best it can be. So anyway, that's everything I'm working on right now. I thought it'd be great to do just a video on just this because, obviously I'm talking about a lot of other franchises, and I think, it'd be great if you like what I've been talking about. It'd be great if you also checked out my books, because they are influenced by these same franchises. Like, if you like Star Wars, if you like Game of Thrones, if you like Battlestar Galactica, if you like all these different things, then you may like my books too. And I think I have a lot of different options, and also, there's a lot out right now, and I have, like, typically I give the first book in the series away for free, so there's really no risk in trying the series. And then if you like it, then of course you will pay for it, and that just continues to support me in these videos and in writing new books. So anyway, that's everything I have to say about this. Thank you again for watching. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you can. And, I'd love to see you in the comments on these videos. Please let me know what you think. You can also see me at MonicaLeonelle.com, and I talk about a lot of the same things I talk about in these videos, and I also, that's really the best place to get more information about any of these series that I'm writing if you are interested in any of them. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye!